As I've mentioned in a previous video, I denied my own cringe for years and only got into anime as an adult. I have, however, been a member of the elite gamer species for basically my entire life. So imagine my excitement when I found out about how much anime there is out there based on some of my favourite video games. I was all like, hell yeah, this is going to be sick. These aren't going to be soulless cash grabs like all those Western films based on video games. Anime is special and they'll give my favourite games the adaptation they deserve. Well yeah, turns out I'm a fucking idiot, and anime based on video games is usually just as trash as live action films based on video games. But why? Why does almost every video game adaptation, whether live action or animated, end up being garbage? Well, that's the question I'm covering today. I started thinking about this topic because I recently watched the anime adaptation of Corpse Party. Or more accurately, I watched the first episode of Corpse Party and really didn't have it in me to watch the rest. For those that don't know, Corpse Party is a classic RPG Maker horror game with heavy visual novel elements. It also has an anime adaptation that's generally considered, not so good. Anyway, I started watching the anime, and about 5 minutes in, I was surprised by how good the show was. I just kept thinking, what's up? The dialogue's identical to the game, the animation's decent, it even has the same voice actors. So why does everybody hate this show? Well, after that, the anime moved from adapting the visual novel intro sequence of the game and started adapting the JRPG gameplay. This is when I realized the issue with not only Corpse Party, but with all video game adaptations. Gameplay is just not good in a narrative story. In the Corpse Party game, I was really into the plot and really enjoyed wandering around the horror landscape and slowly learning about both the mysteries of the situation and about the characters you're playing as and interacting with. In the anime, not only is it not interactive, unlike the video game, but you have to condense hours of player exploration into a few minutes. And despite the fact that all of the dialogue was identical, you just did not care about any of it because it felt so rushed and unnatural. Most video games will have the majority of their story happen passively while you're just playing the game, and then maybe there'll be a cutscene every now and then. This format is an issue when adapting them to a non-interactive medium. Why would I care about what's happening in Silent Hill when I haven't spent hours running around, exploring the area, and getting attached to the characters? Adaptations of gameplay simply do not provide entertainment, and if you cut the gameplay from a video game, you're not left with just the story. You're left with some fragmented lore that doesn't equate to quality entertainment. One of my favourite examples of video game storytelling is Dark Souls. A lot of people could play all of Dark Souls without even understanding that a story was being told, but that's because it's told entirely through gameplay. You learn the story by walking through an abandoned kingdom and seeing firsthand what the effects of the first flame fading is having on the world. You meet characters that were once legendary figures, and they've succumbed to madness and gone hollow. While you're off completing your quest as the protagonist of the story, you see NPCs in the background completing their own missions as the main character of their own stories. To me, Dark Souls epitomizes storytelling in an interactive medium, and I challenge anybody to tell me how this kind of story could be properly adapted to a non-interactive medium, be that anime, literature, or a fucking puppet play. This is why video game adaptations simply do not work. Although most games aren't as extreme in their passive storytelling as Dark Souls is, they all, at least to some degree, have that gameplay style story that can't be adapted. And that's why they all feel empty and forced. So now that I've talked about why anime adaptations of video games don't work, let's talk about the times that they do work. If you've watched this far, I'm sure you're thinking, well, what about the good video game adaptations? And there are genuinely only two that I can think of that aren't just straight up worse experiences than the games they're based on. Cyberpunk Edgerunners and Castlevania. These are genuinely great shows that I would recommend to everybody whether they've played the games or not. But their existence really doesn't invalidate my earlier arguments. And the reason for that is that they're not attempting to do the kind of adaptation that I claimed can't be done. Both of these anime, for all intents and purposes, are actually original stories that just happen to be set in the same world as the video games. Castlevania uses the basic lore of the game, changes a few details here and there, and then writes its own story using the broad strokes of the game's story as inspiration. Edgerunners goes even further and just makes up an entirely new story with completely original characters that just happen to live in the same Night City from the Cyberpunk game. This is why they both work as anime. Neither of these shows are trying to carbon copy the video game story. Castlevania didn't dedicate hours to Alucard exploring Dracula's castle, and Edgerunners didn't have huge sections where the characters were, T-posing? I don't know, I didn't actually play Cyberpunk. I mean, did you see how that thing ran at launch? I wasn't about to drop $2,000 on a new graphics card just to get the game to run at fucking 40 frames. But anyway, my point is that these shows are good because they played to the strength of their own medium, anime, and they didn't fall into the trap of trying to make a one-to-one adaptation from a medium that just refuses to be adapted. Yeah, I guess I should talk about visual novels. Anime based on visual novels can be good. Some of my favourite shows are based on visual novels. But are we really going to sit here and act like visual novels are actually video games, and not just choose your own adventure books with anime girls? Like, yeah, some visual novels actually rely on the interactive storytelling too much to be adapted well. But with most of them, I'm pretty sure you can just pick the best route, copy the dialogue, make some nice animation, and then bam, masterpiece. So yeah, video game anime is usually bad, but I'm still hyped as fuck for that Nier Automata anime, even though I know it's probably going to be dog shit. We can all act like we're above it and won't get sucked into the hype, but none of us actually are. Look at you, I bet you were hyped to the fucking Angry Birds movie. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more weeb shit.